I'll be showing today is how to get clear, beautiful prints on paper with flowers. Hello, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel, where I talk about all things natural dye and share natural dye tutorials with you. And I was actually introduced to this method first by my grandmother, who has long since passed, but many summers ago when I was staying with her, she showed me how to transfer color from flowers onto paper for card making using a microwave. And so I'm not using a microwave today, but it's a memory that's always stuck with me, and of course since then eco-printing has grown in popularity, and there are lots of methods and lots of wonderful teachers who teach these types of methods. The method I'm going to be showing you today, it's the method I have found that gives the clearest prints when using flowers. Now when you're using leaves and other types of plants, there are other methods that you can use and experiment with, and I'll be sharing more on those methods at a later time. What I'll be showing today is how to get clear, beautiful prints on paper with flowers. So I'll show you some examples. Today I'm going to be using Coreopsis flower. It's a flower that I'm growing in my dry garden. It's one that I know dyes well, and I know that it prints well. So I'm going to show you some past prints I've made using the Coreopsis so you can get an idea for what we'll be making today. So what's awesome about what I will be showing you today is that this is just the really first step. You can take this so much further. You can introduce blankets just like you do in eco-printing on fabric, where you're using a carrier cloth to transfer color onto the background, iron blankets as well as dye blankets. You can experiment with dipping the plants in iron. This could be the first step to a beautiful watercolor painting. There are so many more options and so many ways that you can take this further. So I will be sharing more about those methods soon. Alright, so let's talk about what you'll need. You're going to need paper. I like to use watercolor paper. I have experimented with many types of paper and gotten really amazing prints on other types of paper as well. So watercolor paper is not necessary. I just find that I get the best prints on watercolor paper. And this is 100% cotton watercolor paper. Again, I've experimented with a lot of different types of watercolor paper. It doesn't have to be 100% cotton, but that is what I'm using today. You're going to need some fabric. It could be any kind of absorbent natural fabric, so cotton is really wonderful. This is just some scrap fabric that I had lying around. This is going to be placed around your paper bundle to absorb that extra moisture. This is a trick to getting really clear prints when you are eco-printing on paper. You're going to need something to bind and press your paper and fabric in. I'm going to be using these two ceramic tiles today. You can use cardboard, you can use hard plastic, you can use wood, you can use pretty much anything that will give you a firm, hard surface that you can then bundle and tighten securely, and that will be heat resistant. You'll need something to bind your bundles. I like to use these binder clips because it's really simple. You could use string, you can use fabric, elastic, whatever you have on hand, anything that can go around your bundle and make it nice and tight and secure. You'll need a towel for absorbing the extra mordant, because we are going to be mordanting our papers. So if you're familiar with my work or you've taken my course, you know that for cellulose fibers, which paper is a cellulose fiber, I use aluminum acetate to mordant. So this is some aluminum acetate and water that I've mixed together at 10% weight of fiber, which means that I weighed my dried paper, and then I calculated what 10% of that would be, and I measured that amount of aluminum acetate out and mixed it with some warm water. So you're going to be soaking your paper really briefly in this mordant, and it's going to help the color bind onto the paper. It's going to give you those clearer, stronger, more defined prints. You're also going to need a pot. and a steamer. I'm using this vegetable steamer. You can use rocks on the bottom of your pot to hold your bundle up out of the water if you don't have a steamer dedicated to dyeing. You can also use a big pan that you put in the oven and that has a lid and you can steam in the oven if you don't have a pan large enough to put your bundle. Another option is rolling your paper. So when I roll my eco prints, I often use paper barriers and get beautiful prints. The paper does end up being a little bit more wrinkly and the prints might not be quite as clear as when you're using this method I'm going to be showing you today, but I know that not everyone probably has a pot large enough to fit a big bundle, so those are just some other options if you want to give this a try but you don't have a pot that's quite big enough. Alright, so let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place my paper right into the mordant bath and let it soak for maybe a minute. It doesn't need to get fully saturated. It really just needs to be the outside of the paper that gets damp. I have found that with this cotton paper, it gets damp pretty quickly, so I'm just going to place it in. Having some gloves on hand is also a great idea. Now I'm just going to take it out, let the excess drip off, and pat it dry. I don't want any excess moisture on my paper. Now some people who eco-print on paper like to fully submerge their bundles into boiling water or dye. And that method works really well for a lot of leaves and plants that are a little bit harder to extract color from. But I found that with flowers, it's not necessary. Steam is plenty, and you will be surprised. We only are going to steam for about 5 minutes, and it's plenty of time to go ahead and extract that color and transfer onto the paper. And one of my tips for getting these really clear, defined prints is to steam for a really short period of time. Because the more moisture that gets on the paper, the more the dye is going to start running and your prints are not going to be as clear. Okay, so to start, I'm just going to go ahead and take one of my pieces of scrap fabric and I'm going to fold it in half so it fits onto my tile. And take one of my pieces of paper and place it down. And then I will arrange my flowers onto the paper. Now I like to do my flowers face down, but you don't have to. You can do them face up because you're going to get a mirror print. You're going to be sandwiching between two pieces of paper, so you're going to get 2 prints from this. I also picked some coreopsis leaves because those also make beautiful prints. So I'm going to stick some of those on here as well. So it really is just that simple. I'm going to just take the bundle and place it into the pot with the steamer and the water. So the goal is to keep it out of the water. I'm going to steam it for about 5 minutes. It's going to be really hot to touch, so I'll let it cool for a couple minutes and then I'll be back to show you the results. Alright, so it steamed for 5 minutes and then I let it cool for about 3 minutes. It's still pretty hot to touch. Usually I would let it cool completely, but since I'm trying to fight the light today to finish this video, I'm going to go ahead and open it up and I'll bring you over so you can see the prints that we made. So it's really as simple as that. We made some beautiful prints. I like to hang mine to dry, just with some clothespins. And then I will usually lay them and press them in a book to flatten them. You could also iron them with a piece of cloth over them to get them nice and flat. And these are just so beautiful and delicate. I'll show you one more time. Thanks so much for being here and for following along. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I hope that you all have a wonderful day.